Hello, I'm Guillaume, and I'm here to talk to you about Credibles. It's a crowdfunding platform for food businesses, restaurants, farms, and everything in between. A little bit about me. I've been in financial technology for the past 8-9 years, mostly on the technology side, on the payment messaging for large banks, and a few stories inspired me around 2008, 2009. Then I saw a lot of opportunities in financial and banking space to change how things where things are going. So, where did we start? How did we start Credibles? Where does the idea come from? We really started with this by hacking Kickstarter. We had some friends in our neighborhood, my co-founder and I, were talking to these guys, Jonathan and Tony. They were starting a restaurant in Bernal Heights. It's the hill down there. And they were trying to raise $25,000 for their restaurants on Kickstarter. And about 2/3 from in their campaign, things were not going super well. They had put a number of rewards, but they didn't get the traction they were looking for. So most of the rewards were things like, T-shirts, a bag, a thank you note. There were a few options like 2 pre-feast dinners or a family meal for 6 people. But I think that didn't really get people's attention. So what we told them is, okay, maybe you should try to do like issue meal credits. So they did that, and they got $8,000 from 41 people in a few days. So that really gave us the idea that this is interesting. This could be powerful. Maybe we could build a product on this, because Kickstarter is not really addressing the needs of food businesses. If you're a food business, you're not like a tech gadget company, so you cannot really pre-sell, a tech product. You have to. People are not going to buy a family meal for 6 people. And if you want to raise 500 people from someone, you're going to have to. That could be your only option, right? Selling meal credits solves the problem. You can easily get someone to put $1,000 or $2,000 that they would eat over time when they want. So we decided to build a complete service dedicated to food business crowdfunding. This is not a new idea. Farms, as I was talking to David earlier, farms have been struggling to raise money for a long time. It's one of the businesses where you actually need to seed stuff and plant stuff before you actually harvest it a year later or 6 months later. And that's true for most food businesses. Even a restaurant, they need to buy the food before they serve it to you, and sometimes they need to make some big investments into equipment, etc. So it's really difficult for a food business to raise money, and especially when times are tough, right? This actually is a picture, sorry for the pixelation. This is from like 1991. This farm in Berkshires was trying to raise money over the winter, and they went to the bank, and the bank said, "Okay, sorry, we can't do that. You don't have any assets to back your loan or whatever." And so what they did is that they issued their own paper notes that had a cabbage in the place of Lincoln, and they just issued these for face value of $10 the year after, that they were selling for $9. So I discovered the story in 2008. That was one of the stories that really inspired me into the kinds of things that are possible if we turn that into and use mobile technologies and the internet to make it much more fluid than papers that you buy and carry around and have to keep track of, etc. The interesting thing is, from a legal standpoint, there's precedent that say that if you pre-sell a product and you enjoy the cash right now, basically you're fundraising by selling your goods in the future, this is not a security because you're really buying products for your own consumption. You're not going to get a cash monetary return on it. So the US Supreme Court doesn't consider this a security, which makes it very easy for any business to use as a mechanism. As you know, right now we have the...
Real quick question on that.
Yeah.
If you transact in that, then does it become a security? Is there a secondary market in those?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is a gray area. I think I can go into that in the question phase, but the regulatory framework right now is either you do money or you're not doing money. But as I was saying to someone earlier, to me money is more an objective than a noun. So it's what's the moneyness of what you're doing, right? So I think right now the regulatory framework is not very well adjusted. I expect them to take that into account. I think if you were to, let's say, get a return in foods and services, but then you can actually have 10,000 places where you can use them, that becomes more like money, and maybe that's where you could claim this is actually more than a gift certificate. But I just want to talk about this here. Why food? And I borrowed this from Steve Jobs when he launched the iPod. He had this great quote about, and sorry, some of the I had some strike through text there, but we love food. It's part of everybody's life. I think I moved from France here in '98. I've seen how Americans have paid more and more attention to what food they're eating, and they're seeing the result of their investment on their body and how they can change that. We say, I think on our website we say, if you eat, you're an investor, and in a way, investing starts with your own health, and health is one of the truest forms of wealth. So we think food is a really great space to experiment with, change through crowdfunding. More importantly, it's really hard for all these food businesses, particularly farmers, to raise money. They don't need a lot. Most of the businesses we talk to, they're trying to raise $20,000. That's really a microloan. Sometimes they need less than that, but it's almost impossible to go to a bank and say, hey, I need $10,000. They're not really interested in that. And their criteria or the kinds of models they're using to underwrite the loan doesn't work for them. So there's a real need. I'm just going to go to how it works. So we have a mobile app for iOS, Android, website. So everything can happen on the mobile. Basically, you pick a level. You buy your meal credits at a particular business. So, for instance, for $200 at this cheese shop in Dog Patch, I can get $2.20 in Credibles. So I get about 10% extra. If I put more, maybe I get more. So we have the scaled version where the more you invest, the more you prepay the business, the more edible credits you get. And then you have your wallet, your Credibles wallet, where you have all your balances. So this is a sample of mine from a couple of days ago. And on the business, it's kind of like Square, except there's no credit card, debit card, or anything like that. Because at this point, you're transacting in the currency of the business. So essentially, the experience is you show up at the business and you say, I want this, I want that, and then you say, put it on my account. And chances are they know your name, they look you up, they enter the amount. You can protect your account with a PIN, most of our customers don't. and you click done, and the transaction is done, you get a receipt in your email, and that's it. So if the business made a mistake, you can always talk to them. It's a very, as far as I know, it's like the best payment experience that you can have today. So if I try to like put the concept in a nutshell, it's really banking without the bank. On one side, you have your deposits at various businesses, and on the other side, you have the loans from various customers. I think this is a big trend. I mean, banking without the bank is also something we hear about with Bitcoin, right? People are saying, hey, are we going to actually get the 2.5 billion people who are unbanked right now in the banking system, or are we more likely to all become unbanked? Which is more likely? I think there is a good possibility that more and more of us will have less and less money in the traditional banking system, more and more in our community and alternative types of currency. I just wanted to share some of our user feedback. So we've been building this service based on this experience with Hillside. We've brought on board about 30 businesses in 5 states. This is an example of a business, a very small business in Portland, Oregon. They sell fish. They really try to bring like really good, sustainable fish. And people are just really amazed at their experience from the purchasing standpoint, from the budgeting standpoint, and they're just really happy to see their impact on the business. So we get emails like this every 2 days also. As I said, we are in 5 states, 30 businesses. The nice thing about the kind of regulatory framework we're in is that one of the things we have to comply with is gift cards. And there's a few states where gift card regulations are a bit stricter, but overall it's pretty easy to do what we're doing in most states. What's next for us? Right now we've been in this kind of beta mode where we've been really handpicking some of the business we're working with, and we're going to be next opening to as many businesses as we can through a self-service interface. The other big interesting initiative is actually allowing you to redeem your credits at grocery stores. So let's say, for instance, you love this butter and you prepay for it, but you're not going to travel to the farm to redeem your credits. But maybe you go to Whole Foods or your local grocery store and redeem your credits there to buy the products that you already prepaid. So these are things that we're actually experimenting, and we have some pilots already around this, both at grocery stores and farmers markets. The other really interesting thing is, that's really, I think, where we go into the thing you were talking about, which to me is really close to my heart, is how do we really build a peer-to-peer banking system based on basically ROUs from individually issued businesses. If you think about what a bank does, the bank, what they do is that they take your ROU and then they discount it and exchange it with their ROU, which is liquid. So they're really making your ROUs liquid. And you could ask yourself, well, really, maybe that's just an algorithm. Maybe enabling liquidity between various ROUs could be just brought down to basically an algorithm. If I am Guillaume and I have credits from a business and I'm willing to share some of them with Seth here, or with Matty, or Aidan, a group of us, for instance, here, all the people of this new finance group are saying we're all going to share credits together as a private agreement. We're going to swap them with each other. And suddenly we all have access to a bunch of businesses that we actually didn't fund directly. So it's really easy to create liquidity without necessarily relying on a banking system. There's some very interesting regulatory considerations to that, and we'll be very careful about this. But I think there's not really a clear definition of what's possible and what's not possible. And as I was saying to Brian, I think it will be some very things to be defined, basically, that are left to be cleared up. That's about it. Thank you so much.
Now is take some questions.
Okay.
Can you describe a development in the diligence process of those who are businesses?
Yeah, the question is there any kind of due diligence process for bringing a business on board? Very good question. So there's something I didn't mention in the presentation here, which is that to actually pass the test of the security smell test, you need to, there's such a thing. I think it's called the honey or HORI test. One of the things is that you cannot be a startup. You need to show that there's not a lot of risk of capital loss. And what that means is that you need to deal with businesses that are basically operating already for quite some time. So one of the basic things that we follow is to only deal with existing businesses that are looking to expand, but not businesses that are starting up. So this is like our key criteria. Besides that, we obviously are very interested on the values side of things. So we are only working with businesses, we're not working with McDonald's, but that's besides financial due diligence. So aside from that, these businesses are left to what we call the community underwriting. So people who love and trust and have tasted the business food, who know that this is a good place to put their money.
Sure. My name is Robin, and this is more of like a logistical question about people who buy credits. Let's say I buy 200, I give 200 credits to a cheese factory, and they said, okay, you can have $220 worth of cheese products. Is that immediately redeemable, or is it like in 3 months your bond matures and you can go in and get your $220 worth of cheese?
Well, right now it's instant redemption, but really there's no limit to, because we try to keep things simple, right? But there's no limit to how you could structure this. We have businesses telling us, can we do like no redemption for 6 months and then $100 or 10% every month? We get all kinds of different requests. Right now we try to really keep it simple, and in general what we've learned in our experiments is that I call it the paradox of liquidity, which is the more you tell people that their money is not liquid, the less they are likely to commit. So that's why, for instance, to me the treasuries are very liquid, and a lot of people park a lot of money there because you can dump $1 billion worth of treasury bills and not even see a price change, right? So the more you constrain and you say, okay, you won't be able to redeem, etc., the more basically people are not buying these things. And so it's kind of counterintuitive, and businesses have to get that. But so far we haven't had any problem convincing them. It's true that basically if you want to raise $10,000 and have like a cushion of $10,000, you need to potentially raise more than that to actually carry over or roll over if you want what's redeemed every month.
So I was intrigued by it. It's like you were going toward the, even though this is an internet-based business, that there's really some kind of existing personal relationship, or like these are people who know the existing, have some relationship with the existing business. I guess I'm curious kind of how you came to that, and like, what ramifications that has kind of for your business. That even though it's an internet business, that kind of personal relationships are really the kind of foundation of this transaction.
I think it comes with its own opportunities and challenges. I don't know if everybody understood the question, but the question is essentially, we're dealing with personal relationships in your internet business. How do you reconcile? Sounds like conflicting, right? I think there are two. There's some really good opportunities. The one opportunity is what I was illustrating is that I just run. I'm not like a Japanese someone coming from Japan and coming to San Francisco and then going to go to a restaurant for the first time, the last time, and then I'm gone. I know the business. I've prepaid them. So the way we can transact is completely different. And I think that's really interesting, how you leverage the trusted relationships between people to actually improve the payment experience. Is very interesting. A lot of people give this example, for instance, to say, tonight when you go home and maybe someone you're lucky enough someone prepared dinner for you, they're not going to say at the end of the dinner, hey, it's $10, thank you. You owe me $10. So I think there is like a continuum of kinds of transactions, and this is one of them, which is not like completely like gift based, not purely transaction based, like what we're used to with credit cards, but somewhere in between, right, where you make a strong commitment to a business and then you have a really easy experience. So that's one example of how to leverage that. On the challenge side, the challenge is distribution, basically. How do you reach these customers? And small businesses are very busy. They don't have time to necessarily talk about this, or they're bombarded with offers from all kinds of startups. So the question is, how do you get their attention to actually reach to a very wide audience? So we have some ideas about this, but we don't think it's unsolvable as a problem. For instance, one thing that we're experimenting with right now is having businesses that you would pledge to. So they're not live if you want with us, but you can pledge to them. And you can say, okay, if this business comes on Credibles, I'm willing to give $200. And then you can go to the business and say, okay, you have 10 or 20 people willing to pay you here. You have $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 waiting for you. Do you want to sign up? That's one way to solve the distribution problem and the attention span problem. Did I answer your question?
I was just wondering how you're integrating with the point of sale at a restaurant, for example.
Well, point of sale systems make it very difficult to do that. It's very interesting. Like every single payment system is like trying to do this close thing that doesn't talk to anything else, right? So, for instance, Square, there's just no way to integrate with Square register. If you are talking to Breadcrumb, for instance, same thing. They have some API you need to go through their business development, etc., etc. So, and it's worse when you actually go. I mean, that's actually you're luckier because frankly, the small business these days they used to have a big machine and they could only have one. Now they have just one machine with potentially 10, 20, 30 apps on it. So it's actually not, the restaurants are not so much of a challenge. Basically, they have an app, they have the Square app, or they have other apps that they use. They use a bunch of things for taking orders in advance, for dealing with Groupon, for dealing with Square. They're used to that already. They're not really committed to a single thing, as long as it brings them businesses. The challenge for us is more so to answer your question, basically, for instance, the restaurant that use Breadcrumb, they will do their table management on Breadcrumb. They will do the total on Breadcrumb, and then they just have a gift card. They just register the payment as a gift card, and then they take it out of the Credibles account. So it's like a little longer operation, but it's not a big deal. On the grocery store, the challenge is even bigger because now you have much faster traffic, and it's just very difficult to integrate with, let's say, Retalix, or it's just very expensive. But we figured out a way to actually completely bypass that. So it's possible, and we hope to be able to demonstrate that, publicly soon. Thank you.